1969. Over 75,000 people packed into the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida for the third ever AFL-NFL championship game, being referred to for the first time as the Super Bowl. It was the Baltimore Colts, the 18-point favorites from the NFL, against the underdog New York Jets from the AFL. No AFL team could possibly compete with the real pros of the NFL. The Green Bay Packers had dominated the first two championship games. And no matter how big of a star the Jets had at quarterback, they had no chance to win. The ongoing merger between the NFL and the AFL, announced in 1966, would never truly work.
I got news for you, buddy. We're going to win the game, I guarantee it. That's all there was to it.
Joe Namath guaranteed it. The New York Jets were going to beat what some sports writers felt was the greatest NFL team of all time. Short of Broadway Joe and the Jets making some sort of deal with the devil, they had no chance.
Jimmy Moore's gone out. Flat left. Morrow's going to throw, and it is intercepted. And he may go. He's in there. Still scoring. And his kick is up. And this one is no good. To the right. That's two that Michael dismissed. United, and it is intercepted. Andy Beverly down it. That's the fourth interception all the way. All right, Unitas again. The pass to Richardson. Has the ball. The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions.
In one of the greatest upsets in the history of American sports, the New York Jets won. Suddenly, the AFL could compete with the big boys in the NFL, and the merger that would incorporate the AFL teams into the NFL just 2 seasons later could work. But how did it happen? How did Joe Namath know it would happen? Was it simply a case of a star quarterback being confident in himself and his team, or did Joe Namath make a deal, perhaps with the devil, that if the New York Jets won Super Bowl III, they would take that and never win the Super Bowl again? Joe Namath was a star quarterback helping the University of Alabama win the 1964 National Championship when he was drafted by both the NFL's St. Louis Cardinals and the AFL's New York Jets. Namath went 12th overall in the NFL draft and was going to sign, but the Cardinals wanted him to sign before Alabama's bowl game, which would have made him ineligible to play. So instead, Namath signed a record deal with the team that drafted him first overall in their draft, the New York Jets. Almost immediately, he became known as Broadway Joe. Namath won the 1965 AFL Rookie of the Year, and 2 seasons later would win AFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP in that 1968 Super Bowl winning season. But you know what? He wasn't actually that good. The Jets are cursed by a mediocre quarterback. It's like the equivalent of the Falcons having a curse of Matt Ryan, which they actually might. Yes, it was a different era, and the game was played differently. Joe Namath was the first professional quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. But in that same season, he threw a league-leading 28 interceptions. This man threw more interceptions than touchdowns in 11 of his 13 seasons. For his career, he threw 173 touchdowns and 220 interceptions. The Jets were not cursed because they had great, unrivaled success. They were cursed because they had Joe Namath and had a good defensive game against one of the greatest football teams ever. But how bad could it really be? Only one team wins the Super Bowl each year anyway. Surely the Jets have had some sort of success in the last 57 years. Yeah, 13 playoff appearances in those 57 seasons. Made it past the first round of the playoffs 7 times. 4 conference championship losses. 3 division titles. 57 years. A couple okay years here and there in the 80s. 6 playoff appearances in the 2000s, including back-to-back conference championship appearances in 2009 and 2010. And then not back to the playoffs since then. Every time you'd think it can't get worse for the Jets, it does. 2 straight playoff appearances in 85 and 86, a players' strike in 1987, and even when the losers for the Jets that played at the time decided to cross the picket line, the team still wasn't good. Jump ahead to the 90s, try to hire the legendary head coach Bill Parcells from the Patriots? Well, you can't just do that. So you hire Bill Belichick for 6 days, then give the Patriots 4 draft picks to get Parcells anyway, and keep a pissed-off Belichick as his assistant. At least he gets you to the 1997 conference championship game, and then he resigns 2 years later. But it's okay, because his replacement in waiting, Bill Belichick, is there. Except he remembers when he was hired for 6 days before being demoted, and your division rivals, the Patriots, remember when you stole their coaches, so they make a backroom offer to Belichick. He leaves a handwritten note on a napkin, quitting as the head coach of the Jets after 1 day. At least nothing ever came of him. Don't worry, Jets fans. New ownership was here to save the day. What could possibly be wrong with a man only rich because his great-grandfather founded a company? A man later selected by the President of the United States to be the U.S. ambassador to Britain. What? A man mentioned by name in multiple emails by famed New York financier Jeffrey Epstein. A man that willingly goes by the name Penis. What could go wrong there? Surely he wouldn't overstep and interfere with football operations that he knows nothing about, nor would he let his 17-year-old son named Brick be involved in those decisions. No one would even name their son Brick anyway. It's all good, Jets fans. There's nothing to worry about. At the very least, maybe this team can help pick up the people of a city devastated by the events of 9/11. They win the final game of the season to make it to the playoffs. Maybe they can really do it. Give these New Yorkers a little bit of hope. 22 points allowed in the fourth quarter to lose in the wild card round. But it's okay. The 2000s are a period of success. Sure, the best quarterback you've had since Joe Namath can't stay healthy, but it's okay, because you get one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Brett Favre. Surely he won't send a dick pic to your game day host and throw 8 interceptions as you lose 4 of your last 5 games to miss the playoffs. Don't worry, you can trade up to the 5th overall pick and draft the quarterback of the future, Mark Sanchez. You've got the best defense in the league. You're beating Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in the playoffs, back-to-back AFC championship games. Sure, they lost, but things are looking up. They're so close. What could possibly go
Play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
He's going to fumble the football. This is what Reggie White used to do to people: forklift them and just lift them off the ground. Mark Sanchez not expecting it, and it was the backside of Brandon Moore that knocked the ball.
They haven't been back to the playoffs again. 10 wins is usually enough for an NFL team to make the playoffs. Not for the Jets. 2 or 3 wins is almost always bad enough to get the first overall draft pick. Not for the Jets. You as a fan have hope for the upcoming season? That'll last all of 4
Jackson
plays.
breaks down and time runs out. Down goes Rodgers in the sack for Leonard Floyd.
And since retiring, the most notable thing that Joe Namath has done is this.
Everything that anyone else has watched Chad play impresses me. The same thing impresses them.
What does it mean to you now when the team is struggling?
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Fortunately, Joe Namath has reportedly not had a drink since this event. But the fact remains, the New York Jets are cursed. When will it end, you may ask? Who knows? Maybe the curse ends when Joe Namath dies. He is 82. It's possible we find out relatively soon. Maybe another team with a long history of suffering and no Super Bowl victories needs to sell their soul and free the Jets from this burden. Maybe Woody Johnson just has to sell the damn team. Or maybe, just maybe, it'll never end. maybe the New York Jets are doomed to eternal suffering, thanks to Joe Namath and their win in Super Bowl III.